All right, guys, it's 4:01 p.m., so we're gonna get started. If you want to just turn off your phones and just put it away. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you've been learning a lot here in the last three ACT classes we had, almost 5 hours of instruction. Also, hope you guys have been doing the homework, right? Homework is absolutely necessary for the ACT class. So, a couple of reminders. ACT 17th is the test on April 17th. So, if you are planning to take that test, you need to register. April 10th is the ACT review. If you're going to sign up, I know many of you have signed up already. And if you're taking the June test, make sure to register for that one. Sounds good? So, before I get started, I just want to have an open conversation here. Is there any concerns, complaints you guys want to share with me? Anything I need to be aware of? Online, face to face, of course, both. Everything going good? Okay, all right. Again, I would rather fix it right now than to find out 3 months later that this is what we should have done. Today we're going to start with ACT Science. So, let's get started with ACT Science. You need your notebook to write a lot of notes today. All right, so ACT Science is the last section of the ACT. So imagine yourself, you've taken English, you've taken a math, then you've taken a 15 minutes break, then you go to math, go to reading. Now you're at science test. So you are absolutely fried by the time you get to science. And especially you'll feel it for the first time you take the test. So if you have not prepared for this, if you're not prepared for this marathon, you're in for a big, big surprise. So one of the things, I'll tell you the difference between a great student and a good student. A great student is smart, works hard, but mainly has taken practice tests. A good student works hard, knows his stuff or her stuff well, but has not taken a full practice test. And students in New Horizon, we had 3 students, for example, who have got a perfect 36 so far. 3 students. And all 3 have taken at least 8 full practice tests. Minimum 8. Yes, they are busy. I know you guys are busy. But if you want to get an idea, if you want to feel what it's going to look like that day, you really have to experience it. And the added pressure of the test on that day makes it feel worse than it is. So, science is the last section. You are tired. So, unlike math, it's kind of easy to predict. As the question number increases, the difficulty level kind of increases. So it's more like this. This is the difficulty level graph of math. Quite linear, and you can predict the first 20 are easy, middle 20 are 20 are medium level, and the last 20 are difficult. But in science, it's different. In science, if you go from the passage 1 to passage 6, it can be all over the place. So the passage 1 can be significantly different, passage 2 can be significantly easy. 3 can be okay. So it's all over the place. And every test, it differs. Every test, it can differ. So it can be like this. So what I'm trying to get to is, in math, as you go towards 60, it's getting harder. You know that. Science, you have absolutely no clue. And of course, needless to say, Every question has the same point value, right? So if you get stuck in a difficult question, not only are you going to waste your time, you are going to waste your energy, and most importantly, your confidence. How do you handle ACT science? And we have been teaching students for 13 years with the same strategies. And we have at least 50 to 60 students who have scored a perfect 36 in science, because our strategies have historically worked a lot. I would say 98% of our students have used our strategies. 2% have not. And I have no problems with that. There's no competition here. Whatever you're comfortable with. But whatever you do, know your stuff well. But 98% of students have used these strategies. So let's get started. First point. ACT Science has 6 passages, 35 minutes, 40 questions, just like reading. Reading has 4 passages, science has 6 passages. Remember, it used to be 7 passages. Now it has changed. Good. So if you do the math, same with the reading as well, you have 52.5 seconds per question. Next, second point. This is not a science test, this is a science reasoning test. What's the difference? In a science test, you have to know the curriculum well. In a science reasoning test, the curriculum is given to you, you have to comprehend the information and answer the question. So that's the difference. There are two words that come to my attention whenever I teach ACT science. Practice and focus. You have to practice before the test a lot, and you have to focus during a test. Practice is easy if you decide to do that. This is hard. This really is hard. So students who get a good score in science, it's not easy. Especially nowadays, it's getting harder. Next, not all passages are difficult. Not all passages are difficult. Some are easy. You got to identify them. How do you identify? So what is the first thing you do? So you're ready to start the test, and your instructor says your test starts now. So what do you do is the question. So the first thing here is, in the first 45 seconds, approximately 45, scan all the passages. Looking for most graphs, least tables, least reading, using this particular information and a bit of common sense, you are supposed to select the first 2 passages. The first 2 passages you want to work on. So what is your goal here? You're scanning and looking for this information. You're looking for the passage which has more graphs, less reading, less tables. And how many are selecting? Only the two. Out of how many? 6. So it can be 1, 3, 5, 6, whatever it is. But the order is really, really important. And this strategy has helped significantly our students. Now, initially you're going to take more time because you're not used to the system. At the end of the semester, you're looking at 25 to 30 seconds because you have done so many of them. And usually there is a passage which has no graphs, no tables, okay? That is called the conflicting viewpoint passage. Conflicting viewpoint passage. This should be done last. This is the passage you want to do last because it resembles a reading passage. And this is a one passage where you may have to end up reading significant passage information compared to others. I've seen a lot of classes, every section is different. Some students have immediately asked, well, what happens if I have less graphs, but less reading and less tables, like it's a combination of all? Then what? Well, that's the main thing I said. You have to use your common sense. But if you do a lot of practice, you actually will know what to pick first. And if you make mistakes in this one, you will have a hard time finishing the test. So, in the real test, there is nobody you can compare with. Am I right? Hey, you cannot ask somebody, what are the 2 passages you picked? But we will practice so many here that we expect 4 in 5 students, or 80% of the students, to actually pick the same 2 passages. So, in 45 seconds you do that, select the first 2 passages, right? Then, complete the 2 passages. Complete the 2 passages. This is the first time I'm actually writing this point because there was some confusion last time. Complete the 2 passages and then repeat point 5. Repeat point 5 again here for the next 2. So you're going to do 2, 2, 2s. Of course, I expect you to take way less than 45 seconds for the next 2. Sounds good? All right. Let's talk a little bit about tables. So, there are 2 types of tables. There is a small table and a large table, literally size-wise. You want to pick small tables. I would rather pick 2 small tables than 1 large table. There's another type of tables. Data tables and word-based table. Data means there are numbers in it. You want to pick the data table. You really want to avoid a large word-based table because it can be very confusing and convoluting in terms of how the information is given. Very, very tricky this can get. And I have had some students who are very comfortable with tables and they wanted to do tables first. That's fine. Those are the 2%. We had a student who wanted to always start with this. And she ended up getting a 35 in science. But she was excellent in reading. She got a 36 in reading, 35 in science. But again, very, very few students are like that. But whatever you do, whatever you practice is what is going to happen in the real test. There should not be any surprises. All right, I'm going to stop for a few seconds here and see if anybody has anything to discuss, because this is where students have a lot of questions actually. And I just want to answer your questions that can help me answer more questions. Anybody, any questions? Online, face-to-face students? So far, how much time we have spent in the test? 45 seconds. Some of my students are at 20 seconds actually, who have done really well. They have done so many, they know exactly what to do. I usually take around 25 seconds nowadays. Still, I'm at 25 seconds. But this is huge. This is huge. How many passages you have to select? 2. Then you complete the 2 passages, then repeat the process. Now, so far what we have done is how to select the passage. Have we answered any questions? No, we have not. This is a huge step. So what is an ideal passage you want to pick first? It should be a passage which has less reading, very less reading, a lot of graphs, and hopefully no tables. Sounds good? Because if you have a graph, it's a pictorial representation, and you can go boom, boom, boom. Sounds good? Please open your orange book, please. Orange book, everybody. Page 808. So you can see it's a science test, right? Now, this test has 7 passages. Now remember the 6 passages, this is new thing. So many of the textbooks still has 7 passages, okay? So it doesn't matter for us, more practice basically. What I'm gonna do is, you know this information. I'm gonna give you guys a full 1 minute to scan all 7 passages and look for how many? Just 2. And the 2 is important. So if you think 1, 3 and somebody picks 3, 1, that's a difference to me. You with me on this? Because I would never want to start with a difficult passage. I want to start with the easiest passage that gives the momentum for me to the. Remember, you are not this fresh in the test. You're super tired. So any lack of focus is a slippery slope, and you are bound for some big surprises. And I want to share a story what happened. So one of my students used to get around 30, 31 in science, typically 30, 31. And this student lives in Dakota Dunes, and he felt, and he had taken a real test and he had got a 29 already in science. And he took it again, and he, for some reason, lost focus and concentration in science. And he told me it was maybe around 3 or 4 minutes, he just could not focus. His science score was 21. 21. Have I seen this out of 6,000 students? A lot. We don't have to go for it. There is a student in that group here, advanced group, who took our regular group last time. And she told me, and she's a fantastic student, by the way. She has a 35 in English, 34 in math, 35 in reading, but she lost focus in science, 27 in science. If she had done it well in science, she would be done with ACT completely. But now she has to repeat again. Of course, she's in 8th grade, so she has time. The point here is, she said, I couldn't focus. almost gave up on the last passage. And that's what her test results show. Make sense? So, this is not your typical school. Okay, this is not your typical school where you just are given a chapter 1 test and that you have a study guide and then spit it out on the test and you get 100%. Not gonna happen. You have to put in a significant disciplined effort to make a good score. Sounds good? That's why they say 28 is a great score. Then the next level is 33. These are the two benchmarks we have put in. And these are not easy to happen. You have to earn it. And what's against you? Time. So you're tired and you have less time. What you have though is how much you can practice. Fair enough? And these strategies, so we have a student from Bishop Heelan High School who's currently in University of Notre Dame, and she took our class, went through these strategies, practiced a lot, and her science went from a 25 to 34, 9-point increase, and she got $263,000 scholarship to Notre Dame. 2018, we had 3 students get a 9-point increase in their science score. A 9-point. Last year we had 3 students get an 8-point increase and at least 4 students get a 6-point increase. Okay? Why am I sharing this? I can coach all I want. If I don't practice, okay? Especially nowadays, it's getting difficult. You want to get ready. Page 808, you have 1 minute time and you have to select only 2. Your time starts now. Stay calm. Stay focused. Well, that's 1 minute. In the real test, there's nobody going to tell you that's 1 minute, right? You have to have so much muscle memory control that you should know what 45 seconds is going to look like. All right, so I want to start with online students. Can anybody unmute and tell me what they picked? Because there is no right or wrong answer because you have nobody else to compare with. But let's do a comparison here. Online students, anybody?
I picked 2 and 7.
Okay, next.
3 and 7.
Which one, sorry?
3 and 7.
Okay, next.
I picked 5 and 7.
5 and 7 also.
I also picked
Also
5 and 7.
5 and 7 as well.
5 and 7.
How many picked 5 and 7 here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I picked 5 and 7. Somebody said 2 and 7. So let's remember there is no wrong answer. Okay, there's no wrong answer. But let's see why 2 and 7. So who had picked the 2 and 7? I would like you to compare passage 2 with passage 5. Passage 2 has a little bit more reading than 5. So first no. Passage 2 has a small table with numbers. That's okay. Passage 5 has a picture which is same as graph. So based on the less reading, I'm going to pick 5. Same with 7. I had no problem if somebody had gone with 5 and 2 versus 5 and 7 because they're touch and go. But a 5 and 2, 2 and 7. Mm-mm. On page 808, I would like you to write on the top passage 5 and 7. Go ahead and write down that. At the top, write down 5, 7, because we are going to create the order right now, all of us together. And you may have different numbers in the real test, but at least be consistent here. So 5, 7. Anybody has any questions? I'm going to give you guys 25 seconds to select the next two. Now you really feel the heat. Your time starts now. 25 seconds. For the next two. "25 seconds. Goes fast, right? Goes really fast. It feels a lot more fast in the real test, trust me. Now face-to-face students, what's the next two you would have picked? Are it 5, 7 or the first two? Yeah?
3 and 2.
3 and 2. How many picked 3 and 2? Online students, 3 and 2?
I did.
I did.
Yes.
I did 2 and 3.
How many did 2 and 3?
I did.
I did 2 and
I
3.
did.
I did 2 and 3.
I
So,
did 2 and 3.
okay, let's make a comparison here. Look at 3. 3 has a table with what? With words. Make sense? Yeah, you may say, what's the big deal? Of course, no big deal. But your time is a constraint. It's a bottleneck, and you do not want to be stuck on anything, let alone selecting the passage. Sounds good? 5, 7, 2, 3. Go ahead and write down the order. 5, 7, 2, 3. How many passages we are left with? 3 in this case. In the real test, we'll have 6. 2 will be left. Go ahead and select the next 3 in that in the order. Order is always important. 20 seconds. All right, 20 seconds. Online students, anybody? So you're left with 1, 4,
6.
6.
I did.
6 and 4.
I did 6, 4, and 1. Same.
I did 6 for 1.
How many did 6, 4, 1? Quite a bit here, almost all of you. Now you see this is what's going to start happening. Make sense? How much time we have spent so far? 30 minutes today in ICT Science. By 30 minutes, we are almost getting closer to 80% of consistent selection. And if we are not, either the passage was confusing or you just are not really following these strategies. And most importantly, you're not following your common sense. Make sense? Go ahead and write down 641. That's what I had, 641. Just because I had 641 doesn't mean it's a correct answer. There's no correct and wrong answer, by the way. Why 1 is the last one? Because 1 is your conflicting viewpoint. No graphs, no tables. So imagine in the real test you did not know this strategy. What would you have started with? Passage 1, which may be a hardest one. So, great two case studies I've done. October 2013 and October, coincidentally, 2019. October 2013 stands out like a sore thumb to me. Like I just can't forget it. At that time we had 7 passages. So what happened was 1, 2, and 3 were significantly difficult. 4, 5, 6, 7 was significantly easy. And I was kind of mad that my own students had actually forgot to do this in the real test, except 1. So people who did not do this strategy could not even get to passage 7. They did not even touch it because it was so difficult. The person who did do 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 1, 2 order, still remember that, he got a perfect 36. So the first highest was 36, next highest was a 24. Same happened in October 2019. Pretty similar story. You may wonder, does it happen every time? No, it doesn't happen every time. Every time there may be a situation where the passage can be quite obvious and everybody selects it correctly. There may be a situation where the passage is so confusing, there's no right and wrong answer. But in this passage, 5, 7, 2, 3, 6, 4, 1 is more of a, I can give to my former students and they would pick this order, most likely. You guys got it? This is not a joke. This is not something you've got to take it lightly, because this can make or break your scholarships. You may have done well in English, math, and reading, and you screw up your science one, and it's going to tank your scholarships. Be very careful. Sounds good? And if you're going for engineering, especially for engineering, you really need to show a good science score. On page 808, there is something called directions. Could you please read directions for yourself? So, when you read the directions, they have given the word best answer. Do you see that one? Highlight that, please. You have a highlighter. Why did they tell you this? Here's a simple reason. In math, 2 plus 2 is 4 is the correct answer. But in science, out of the 4 answer choices, you're looking at the best possible answer. It may not be a correct answer. And this is something is a very helpful hint, because you're not looking for perfection here. You're looking at, out of the 4, what's the best one? And most importantly, it's based on what the author is thinking, not based on what you are thinking. Sounds good? So you have to put the hat of the author, not yourself. Okay? Page 723. Page 723. All right. We're going to do the same thing. First 2 passages, but I'm going to give you 45 seconds. Your time starts now. Select only 2. Stay focused. Use common sense. 45 seconds. Let's get started. Just from anybody from here. Yeah.
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Did anybody pick 4 and 5?
Yeah, I picked
I
that.
did. I did as well.
Anybody else? Yeah.
6-4.
6-4. Anybody have 6-4?
I did.
I did.
I did.
Anybody else have any other? Yeah.
5 and 6.
5-6. Anybody have 5-6?
I did. I did.
4 here. I picked 5-6. Let's see. The comparison was within 4 and 5. 5 and 4 has kind of similar reading. I agreed to that one. Maybe 4 is a little bit, yeah, it's almost the same. But 5 has graphs, 4 has tables. Graphs usually trump.
See, this isn't.
Graph usually trump the tables. Sounds good. All right. So we have selected again in the real test. You have no one else to compare with. Okay. You have no one else to compare with, but you. But I really hope that we're going to practice so many here that you walk out with clear confidence and clear criterion that you know what to do. I'm going to give you guys 25 seconds. 25 seconds for the next selection of the next 2 passages. Your time starts now. Time's up. Online students, so if 5-6 is the first we picked, what's the next 2 you are picking?
4 and 3.
4 and 3.
4 and 3.
4 and 3.
4 and 3. 4 and 7.
How many? What do you guys have picked here? Yeah, go ahead. Keep
4 and 3.
4 and 7.
4 and
7.
4 and 7.
7 and 4.
7 and 4.
4 and 3.
So one good thing is at least almost all are on 4, right? So let's see. 4 and 3. And 4 and 7. I have picked 4 and 7. And I can give my justification. You may or may not agree to this justification. Reading wise, passage 3 is less. Agreed. Okay? Compared to 7. But passage 7 has a graph and a data table. Passage 3 has 2 big tables with lots of words and phrases. And I cannot stress enough how this combination is bad. Again, I'm not blaming you guys for 4-3. I'm not saying 4-3 is not a good choice. 4-3 is a pretty darn good choice. Graphs are always better. Graph is easy to comprehend. Tables are not. And with words, you still have to read it, right? So it's like a reading within a reading. Go and write down 4-7. Again, we are just to be consistency, we are doing this. In the real test, it's all you, okay? What are we left with now?
1, 2, 3.
So the first 3 you would have done are the last three we would have done. Are you getting the point here? Are you seeing what is happening? So imagine this. The passages we should not be doing are the ones you are doing first. Think about the energy it's going to drain, the confidence it's going to drain. Now decide the 1, 2, 3 in that order, please. Go ahead. 20 seconds. Tell me.
I got 2, 3, 1.
Sorry?
2, 3, 1.
2, 3, 1.
How about online students? We have here many are agreeing to 2, 3, 1. What do you guys are saying?
3, 1.
2, 3, 1. 2, 3, 1.
I got 3, 2, 1.
I got 3, 2,
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. And the reason is passage 2 has significantly more reading than passage 3. So this is what you need to do. When I ask you this question, justify your selection, and if you cannot, that means you really didn't care for the procedures. You can give me any science test, and I can tell my reasoning, and it's based on this. And I'm going to be clear how I selected. Sounds good? I'm not going to change it. You can't. And same with reading. I actually want to talk a little bit. I know Maddie's going to work with you guys in the reading. This is probably the third time she's working with reading. How many passages are on reading? 4, right? Fiction or narration, social sciences, humanities, and
History.
natural sciences.
Oh, sorry.
Right? How many are there? 4. So listen to this. Actually, I won't spend too much time on it. It's Maddie's stuff, but I really want to remind you guys how I have thought about reading. Prose, fiction, narration, first one. Social science, humanities, natural science. Do you know the order you want to start the passage? Did she talk about this? Pretty sure she has, right? I started with natural science, social science, humanities, fiction. 4, 2, 3, 1 is my reading code. And then never, ever changed. So if you give me a practice test, I'll directly go to passage 4. I do not have to even think about 1, 2, 3 because that's how I've practiced. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Do you know your reading code? Like, what's your code? For science, it can change. Reading, it cannot change because reading is consistent, the 4 order. And if you're not, you really need to work on this. Fair enough? Because if you're not sure on the real exam day what passage you want to start with, good luck. If you cannot do it in the practice, how do you expect to do it in the real test? Am I right? What you are is what you practice. That's what they say, right? In Greek, philosophers always say, what you are is what you do. What you practice. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that. So I'm going to remind you guys this. For reading, you got to know what you want to pick. And that's how you have to practice. No ifs and buts. Sounds good? In science, this is the strategy. Strategy is constant. The passages can change, so selection can change.